How's it going, Leon?
Good, good. How are
Morning.
you? Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I'm so glad that it came together. You deserve a congratulations. You've had quite a month. You got married. You went on a honeymoon. So
Yes.
congratulations. How's
Thank
life?
you. Good, good. Getting back to reality.
Getting back to reality in Israel, which is not
It's not a
not easy, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to dig into Web3. So again, I'm really excited to have you. You are the
yeah.
head of marketing at Polygon. We've known each other for a little while and had a chance to kind of dig deep into all kinds of aspects of growth and marketing. And I was like, okay, this is a fantastic conversation that we have to continue on the podcast. So to start, look, we're going to assume that most of our the people listening to this podcast know a little, a thing or two about Polygon in one way, shape, or form. But maybe to kind of give us that baseline, could you walk us through just a little bit of the origin of Polygon, maybe some major milestones and where you stand today?
Yes. So Polygon, as many of the audience might know already, it started as Matic or Matic Network, actually. It was founded by Sandeep, Jainati, and Anurag in 2017. I think in terms of milestones and timeline, they launched, I think, the token in 2019 through Binance. Then you had in 2021 actual rebrand to Polygon. It was called Matic Network,
Right.
rebrand to Polygon. That's when Polygon POS was launched, which is basically a proof of stake chains that aim to scale Ethereum, make cheap transactions, cheap, fast transactions. That was in 2021. Also, Polygon raised, based on some public information, around $450 million from different VCs. That was also, I think, 2021, 2022. And during that time, so Polygon POS was probably the most used chain on top of, well, it's not exactly, it's a side chain, but it was the most used chain that helped scale Ethereum.
Sure.
And during that time, also Polygon had 3 acquisitions of 3 different ZK teams, which are real important and very relevant today. Polygon has aimed for the last 2 or 3 years to keep scaling Ethereum, keep scaling Web3, and we believe that ZK is the way. So that's why those 3 teams were acquired, and that eventually brought to what we have today, which is besides Polygon POS, which is still one of the most successful chains in the space. You have Polygon ZK EVM, you have Polygon CDK, which is basically a tech stack that you can build your own chain. You can build your own app chain. And it also kind of laid the foundation for AggLayer, which is the next solutions that Polygon is working on.
So tell us more about AggLayer. I've been hearing a
Yeah.
lot about that. Can you make a little sense out of the?
Yeah. So basically, as there's a little bit of story here. You have the blockchain started with like single chains, L1s or L2s could be, but there were monolithic chains that, let's say you're a builder, you want to build, you get to a blockchain that it's like made for you, right? It's a public
Right.
chain. You share blocks with other applications. It's not your own chain. So basically it's like a public infrastructure that you can build on. And it's great. It works well, but when you want to really scale to millions or billions of users, it's very difficult, right? Because you share the same blockchain, the same block space. If there's a chain that like has tons of transactions, it will affect the gas and the speed, and it will also affect your app, although you're not that app, you're a completely different one. So monolithic blockchains are great, but they have their limits. Then you have this new thesis of modular blockchains that started also not too long ago. And the idea is that like, you don't need to build on one blockchain. You can actually take different pieces of different technologies and build the chain that you want that best fits your needs. The problem with that is that it creates fragmentation. Basically, we're at a point today in the market that you have, I don't know, hundreds of chains, L2s and L1s that are not connected to each other. And basically, it's leading to maybe the tech is great, but the experience is bad. If you want to move from chain to another, it's terrible. You get a lot of people know bridges. They use bridges. It's also not great. You don't have fungible assets in between them, and generally it could be expensive. Has been a lot of hacks in the past. So those are like the two basically pieces of blockchains today. Like we have
Right, monolithic and modular.
Now Polygon is coming up with a completely new one. It's not a new one, but it's basically the combination of both. It's taking the best of monolithic, best of modular blockchains and basically aggregating them. That's where AggLayer comes in. You can build your own, you can use a modular stacked, basically build the blockchain you need based on your needs and your users' needs and the devs. It aims to have the experience of a monolithic blockchain, where everything is unified, the liquidity is unified, the users are. And let's say you're reaching some scalability limits, and like you're reaching a limit, you can just spin up a new chain, and it's all connected. It all feels like one chain. So it's, if you're thinking, okay, how blockchains will be able to scale in the future and actually bring millions or billions of users, aggregated blockchains is the way that we believe the industry should go. You can look at it as a subcategory of chain abstraction. A lot of people talk about chain abstraction as, okay, you're abstracting chains, but most of the time chain abstraction talks about like the front end, but you need something also in the back end that connects all those chains together.
Right, right. So kind of the seamless multi-chain experience that the end user doesn't have to care about or know about,
right,
or deal with.
But this is in the infrastructure level.
Right.
It basically connects all the chains to a shared bridge.
So when you say all the chains, you're referring to other chains like Ronin, like Immutable, like others.
Correct? So those are chains that are building with Polygon technology, with Polygon CDK.
Okay.
But we're aiming that AggLayer is not only for the Polygon ecosystem.
Sure.
It's actually, we're trying to position it as a neutral infrastructure that any ecosystem can join. We have started working already with projects like Movement Labs that are for Move VM chains. They're building a solution so all the Move chains can connect to AggLayer as well, which is a completely different ecosystem. It's not EVM, it's not on Ethereum. So Polygon is actually trying to expand beyond just the Ethereum ecosystem and try to connect multiple ecosystems. We were working also with Union Labs, which is a Cosmos project that is similar to AggLayer, but like the idea is that they will build a solution to connect all the Cosmos chains to AggLayer. And there's also other conversations with other ecosystems to basically get to that we really unified the whole Web3 space and not just focus on one segment. And they don't need to use any of the Polygon technology, like to build their own chain. They don't need to use Polygon CDK or anything like that. They can customize it exactly the way they want with their needs. And by connecting to AggLayer, they just bring that experience to the users of a unified space. And also, there are some benefits for them. They get access to all the liquidity in that ecosystem, in that network, and it creates network effects. And it's kind of like a win-win for everyone. And that's where we're trying to, that's our goal in the next.
So that's a fascinating kind of concept. And I think one that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like several players in the space are kind of looking to solve, to consolidate it, or to bring, to kind of create either a chain of chains, right? Or a layer that aggregates a lot of this information. I guess I'm curious, first of all, is this a hard sell for the non-EVM players that you might come and have a conversation with, or is it the contrary? They're like, sure, this sounds fantastic. We're going to deploy whatever resources we need to make this happen.
Yeah, so I guess each ecosystem has its own kind of priorities or what they want to achieve. I've heard that there are some ecosystems that they want to keep their own network effects to themselves. Like if we think about L3s, for example, L3s is like, it gives you similar benefits of that unified liquidity and some network effects and like interoperability, but it happens within their own ecosystem. It doesn't expand beyond. Like if you're without saying that, if you build an L3 on an L2 ecosystem that already exists, you can have that interoperability between those L3s, and they basically, and then they send the data back to the L2, but it stays there, right? Some projects might decide to not connect because they're like, we want to keep it to ourselves. We don't want to share with others. But there are projects who really believe in this idea that, and basically it's part of the Web3 goal, right? Like,
sure.
And connect everything together and have the best experience. And it should not hurt them. Like, but everyone has his own priorities. Not everyone's going to join, but we're in discussions with a lot of teams that are interested. And it's eventually comes to like AggLayer needs to fully launch. And I believe that once it's there and people see its capabilities, it's going to be really hard for other projects to not want to join.
Okay, right. Once you hit that economy of scale, right? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And what's the date? When are you planning on launching? Are you allowed to say? Is your team going to let you say?
There's no definitive date. There's some components of AggLayer which are already live.
Okay.
We have done some in test, and there has been already some L2 transactions. And next few months, without saying a concrete date, because I don't have a concrete date, but in a few months, we're aiming to do it in the next quarter or two.
Okay, exciting times. And as head of marketing, how do you think of a launch like that from a PR, from a, let's go out there and spread the word and drive adoption perspective?
Yeah, so it's going to be a big campaign, definitely from a marketing perspective, and we need to push it really hard. Something in Web3 in general, if we're talking about go-to-market and how things are done, many times there's a lot of hype for you even launch a product. Like if I compare to Web2, like Apple goes to the stage to announce a product that in 2 weeks you're going to be able to go and purchase it. In Web3, you announce a lot of things before there's anything to use.
Right. People need patience. Like whatever you're selling, people need to wait for it.
And not only us, but this industry has a tendency of hyping something a year before even it goes live, or hyping something that is going to go to a testnet or even a mainnet beta that it's not going to be like a full product. Even Solana today, they still say they're like in beta. I don't know if much that's true, but we want to change that a little bit. I'm not saying Polygon would not, like, we're not going to keep pushing AggLayer and what it aims to solve in the next few months, and we have a whole campaign strategy for that. But the really big push is going to be when AggLayer works well with low latency, basically fast transactions and cheap transactions. We don't want to go really hard marketing this before it works well, because then
people will be
you can, like, we're saying this is a much better solution than the current solutions in the market, and I don't want to go really hard on the marketing before that's fully true. We know it's going to be true, but there are stages, right? You first launch it in test, and then it's a mainnet, but maybe it's on fast transactions. Maybe they will take 30 minutes to go through, because there's a lot of ZK technology behind it, and it's super complicated. It's not an easy product to build, and you need to build it in stages, and that makes sense for the product team. But for the marketing team, it might not make sense that going really hard on a campaign and doing huge PR and a lot of, like, really pushing it hard, and it's like takes you 30 minutes to do and change to change.
Sure. Right? You never want to overpromise and underdeliver, right? I'd say that's kind of
but
marketing in general,
right? And
unless you're rugging, unless you have bad introductions at the beginning, then don't do it, right?
I totally agree. But I do think that this industry has a tendency to do that for different reasons that we can talk about them. But for this case, we want to go hard when it's ready.
Okay. So when you talk about latency and timing, and you just gave me an example of 30 minutes, which is obviously a long time to wait for a transaction.
Yeah, by the way, it's not if you compare it to bridges, it's not that much difference. Like, maybe there depends on the bridge, but But when we want to go live, when it's like 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes, or even 1 or 2, and it's like, it actually feels like a good experience. And we're going to get there. And we know that we have the foundation and the tech to do that, but it just takes time to develop. And this is a disruptive technology that no one has done before. So it's
for sure. Yeah. You're writing the book. So, but even that, let me push you on that. I'd argue that probably if I had to guess, 80-90% of transactions, 30 seconds to a minute's fine. But there are a lot of cases, obviously, right, where you need it to be seamless. You need it to be like people are used to taking their Visa out, right? Or MasterCard, in just like 5 to 10 second latency, let's just call it, right? Where, I mean, that's what we're used to. We're conditioned to, right? In Web 2. How do you see that coming to play in broader Web 3?
Yeah, so we need to differentiate two things. There's within that blockchain transaction that already exists, like Polygon, POS, I think probably takes that time to do the transaction.
Okay.
But when
okay.
you want to do cross-chain transactions, that might, by the way, AggLayer will allow you to do multiple things in one transaction. Let's say you want to buy in one chain, and I want to, I don't know, put my stablecoin on another chains and get their yield, like deposit it and stake it and get a yield. Usually that will require you to do the cross-chain, like breach your assets,
Right.
if it's a wrapped asset or not, if it depends on if you have the right token or not, use the gas of the other chain. Like it's like 2 or 3 transactions to get to that staking. You will be able to do it with AggLayer with one transaction. And that makes sense. That will take a minute or something like that. It's not like it's not within your own chain. This can be multiple transactions that it's basically compiled into one.
Okay.
But even that, eventually, I believe, I don't know, I don't have a timeline in mind, but I know that we just, for example, Polygon just announced a collaboration with Fabric, which is a company that is building chips for ZK Technology, basically microchips. This is like a new evolutions of chips. If you have GPU until now, CPU, GPU, now it's like a VPU.
Specifically for ZK Tech.
Specifically for ZK. And we're working together. And this chip should allow us to get to those really, really fast transaction times when it's ready. But like they're building some hardware that will allow us to get that fast. I don't know how long it's going to take, but if this is something that people were thinking will take 3 to 5 years, we're talking about like a year.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it is still, I agree. It's super important that we get to those levels. Otherwise, if you want mass adoption and you want people to go to the supermarket and use crypto, if you're gonna wait in line 2 minutes for the transaction to go through, it's like,
right,
that's not gonna work.
Okay, so let's continue talking about growth. You and I, we talked about vibes.
Yeah.
Tell the audience what do you mean by vibes? What do we mean by vibes?
Well, vibes is it's half of a joke, but it's also true. That sometimes you measure your success based on the sentiment. It's basically sentiment, right? But it's a more like Web3, like
DGen-y
way to say it.
Sentiment.
It's that sentiment. It's not like if that sentiment is more. I feel like it's way more relevant here than in Web2 tech, for example.
Why so? I mean, go on.
I'll give you an example. There are SaaS companies, for example, that might have a really, really good product. And could be that I hate their marketing. Okay, it could be that I can't stand them. They're like on YouTube with their ads every single day, but I know they have a good product. I'm just still going to use it. In Web3, if they don't like you, they might not be on your side, and they might be talking. Might send you on Twitter all day. Like those vibes are important. You want people to like you. You want people to become your community members. You want people to support you. I feel like the stake in the game that the end users has here versus on a SaaS product or a Web2 company, it's completely different. You need to care about it. Like, I don't know, I'll give you an example. I heard a lot of people not liking Amazon, for example, just because they're like a big company and they control everything, but they're still buy every single day. In Web3, if they don't like your chain, they're not going to use it, most likely.
Is that because community, if you think of it right, in Web3, community are also your stakeholders. Community are also your traders, also your NFT collectors,
yes.
The people who advocate for you.
And chain, they need to hold your token, most likely. Most times. Some LTOs you need to hold ETH, but for example, for Polygon POS, you need to hold Pol or Matic Pol, which Pol is the new token, but yeah.
Right. And culture, essentially, right? What brings a community together typically is either a mission or a vision or some form of culture.
Yes.
Right. So is that kind of how you think of it when it comes to, again, that's why having the vibes against you or bad vibes, right? Or what maybe people from the outside might consider a toxic culture.
Yeah.
That's why they're going to stay away from you, because they have plenty of alternatives and
yeah, and they will. This is a very speculative market.
Sure.
And people will go to the one that has good vibes because they will believe they will succeed, because that's like the consensus, right? But the consensus
It is always forward looking too. It's never where things are now. It's like, where do we believe we're going to get, and the value that's going to bring all of us, whether it's monetary, whether it's
I think I can give you a great example. Today, the market is super excited about two specific projects, Parachain and Monad,
right?
Which haven't launched yet, fully launched. They have some things, but they haven't fully launched, which is okay. Nothing. I love those projects, by the way. They've done an amazing work. But Polygon has the biggest app in the market right now, which is Polymarket.
Polymarket, sure.
Amazing use case. It's on the news, on CNN. People like this is like the new way to determine who's going to win the elections. Almost like people look at it as like this is like the source of truth. Like this is the
right. Because that's, I mean, it's kind of like looking at Vegas, right? Because like the people in Vegas who are putting their money down, you kind of assume that on average they're doing their homework, they're doing their research, they have some form of idea. Like they're not just necessarily doing it for leisure. Yeah, I read. Tell me if this is right. In June, I saw that the last couple months had like over 60,000 monthly active users.
I think. Probably. I don't know the exact number. They have probably more. Yesterday I was looking at it because I was showing to a friend. Polymarket in the Kamala Harris and Donald Trump bet, they have $300 million. Put like the people have put 300. It was like 150 each. Well, it's almost equal, but that's a lot of money.
A third of $1 billion.
Yes,
crazy.
And no, $1 billion. Yeah,
a third of $1 billion. Yeah. And that's only for the presidential election. That's not anything else.
Else. And
crazy.
And that's built on Polygon POS. This is the biggest app today, not just for Web3 in general in the world, that it's using a blockchain technology, and people still looking at the projects that are going to launch in a few months that are promising a few things instead of looking at the present and what's working today and what has like one of the biggest use cases. And by the way, Polymarket is one example. There are other use cases and other verticals and categories where Polygon POS is doing an amazing job in bringing good applications and good users and being that infrastructure. But the vibes are into the new shiny tokens or new shiny projects. That's why it's important to maintain that balance, and because those are Web3 users and you want them and on your side.
Sure. Okay. So this opens up two directions of questioning. Let's keep going with you, like this killer app notion or widespread adoption, right? We talked about scalability a little bit. We talked about Polymarket and prediction markets. As I don't know if a killer use case, but definitely something that at this point you can kind of say there's some product market fit, right? Like or validation at least that there's interest in this. And I think prediction markets kind of fall into where gambling does. People have this innate need again for the upside, for the potential to compete against each other, right? There are all these kind of emotional and psychological and monetary, right, things that come together, kind of driving people towards prediction market. What are some other killer use cases or applications in Web3 that get you excited?
Yeah, so you have RWAs, which is real world assets. I can give you an example.
Which is essentially tokenization, right? NFTs, tokenization, and right?
Right, it's taking a physical asset and basically tokenizing it. And like you make it digital. And I can give you, there's a really popular app today on Polygon, which is called Courtyard. And what they do is...
What's it called?
Courtyard.
Yep.
And what they do is they take collectives, basically. For example, Pokemon cards, they're very popular.
Mm-hmm.
And you can digitalize them, you can tokenize them. If you have the physical card, really, you can go tokenize and put it digital and actually start trading it as a digital asset. They, I think, last month did 100 million in volume.
What?
Sorry, not 100 million, 1 million.
Okay, that's still a lot in our industry.
$1 million.
Yeah,
in the last.
Is this like trading or minting volume or by like?
I think it's like the trading and I don't know exactly how the volume. I just saw on you and like have 1 million. But it's basically yes, it's like you mint it and then you trade it and you can take a Pokemon card and actually start trading it in a digitalized way. That opens a world that like it's exactly that globalization that I think we were talking about it before we started recording. But like it's this globalization that you have access to things that you didn't have before. Why Polymarket it's so popular on a blockchain? Why this uses could not be off chain? In theory, you could, right? You can gamble on, and you can bet on things off chain, but this gives you that global access that you didn't have before. I can go from here and bet on on who's going to win the election. That's not something that I was able to do before. Similar with international transfers, or like it's way easier. You can do it without a blockchain, but it's not the same experience. It's not that easy. Another use case that which is similar ideas like stablecoins, for example. You can generate yield. You can hold a stablecoin. You can stake it. You can deposit it. You can to generate basically an APR, like some interest by giving it to a protocol that they use it for different things, and you generate like a few percentage and you earn money. That also gives you global access that you didn't have before. It can be for example, if you tokenize financial assets in the US, whatever, and like let's say I'm as an Israeli citizen, I don't have access to those financial systems. But if everything is tokenized and globalized, with crypto, you can have that access. So stablecoins is also a really big use case. And actually, the stablecoin play at Polygon is like growing crazy, right?
Okay.
Like,
how so? Like when you say the stable, I mean, first of all, stable, I totally agree, right? And we talked about this before we started recording. Stable coins are kind of, I think of it as a building block within DeFi that opens all these doors, right? And makes money much more fluid, much more global, lower transaction fees, faster. You can plug it into prediction markets or RWAs or all the, yield, right? Or all these different things. So, but when you say where like the stablecoin play is in, or I'm butchering how you said it, but what do you mean by that? Does that mean partnerships? Does that mean bringing more stablecoin like liquidity? Does it mean market makers and actually like infrastructure companies that deal with it? How do you think of that?
It's probably a combination of everything.
Yeah.
But I think one of the amazing things about this industry, besides what Polygon can do from our side, like, yes, we have an amazing business development team and we have our institutional team that are working with all these financial institutions. For example, we have Libra, which is, I can't remember this hedge fund name, but there's this big hedge fund that is now building its own chain, which is basically to tokenize assets, and it's for institutions. Libra.
Libra? Wasn't that Libra. The Facebook thing?
No, not Libra. Libra.
Okay.
Libra.
All right. Big difference.
It's what's the name? Horowitz.
Andreessen? Not A60.
No, not A60.
Okay.
Calling from our institutional is gonna kill me. Anyway, so we have like institutions actually now using the blockchain to tokenize assets, and I'm not an expert on that, but like that's one thing that, like, for example, Polygon is like working with different teams and projects and to build that.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's like this is just happening permissionlessly. Like people, like there's things that Polygon is not involved, but people are using the technology to build things, and so our stablecoin volume is growing crazy. I think it's like 2 billion now, 2.7, something like that. And yes, we're doing things to do that, but a lot of it is just
organic. Yeah,
it's organic growth. Yeah, it's happening. People see the benefit of holding stablecoins and going and using it for different things.
Sure.
So it's just
sure. Yeah, I always tell this anecdote in my previous role as head of Web3 at the Algorand Foundation. It was a small ecosystem, and we kind of had a plan for strategically what's the infrastructure that we need to put in place, what types or verticals of initiatives or applications do we want to encourage, who are the teams that we want to support, right? And I think to your point, when you start seeing things that happen organically or irregardless of you, that's when something special is happening, right? Because you can kind of inorganically inflate this and incentivize that, and like that kind of works, but at a certain point it needs to become its own independent thing. So I actually like this line of conversations that we're at, because it takes me kind of back to vibes.
There you go.
And Polygon is a market leader, right? And how you think of things kind of maybe strategically in terms of, so we kind of talked about the sentiment, and the culture that really needs to be there. And as head of marketing, it sounds like there's a big emphasis, right? How do you maintain this almost hegemony? Is that how you say it? Hegemony, hegemonia in Hebrew, right? But like the market leadership, how do you and how do you kind of keep building that momentum, which it feels like in our industry that moves so fast and that gets saturated, right, so quickly as well, and it just gets really noisy. We all know this. There's so much noise out there. So I feel like in Polygon, I would assume that you're in a fortunate position, or the way to think of it is you're in a fortunate position to have that market leadership, that awareness, like that's not lacking. People know about Polygon.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that throughout, again, years we're talking, right? In such a noisy, fast moving scene.
Yeah, I think Polygon has done a lot of work to always like look forward. Like, I don't know, if we look at the time, the times that we have changed in just in the last 3-4 years, the things that we have done, sometimes that may look like, oh, Polygon's changing things all the time and building something new and something new. But it's like, this is, as you said, moves so fast, and you need to keep up. Like,
right.
If we decided, like, let's just stay with Polygon POS, which, by the way, it still works amazingly. It's still a market leader. But now you have, I don't know, hundreds of other L2s and other dozens of L1s that all compete for the same users. Not a lot of applications are bringing Web2 users. You need to keep innovating, and that's why, like, and you need to always think about the future. So yes, for people who have been following Polygon for the last 2-3 years, they've seen that we change a lot of things. Sometimes it's not the best thing to change that much. At least as a marketing person who believes that you need to be consistent with one message,
Sure.
one positioning, stick it as much as you can. But in this, if in Web2, that stickiness or that position that needs to stay for very consistent, it's, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years. In Web3, if you stay for 5, you might not be relevant after 3 years.
Sure.
And that's why we have things like AggLayer and all the ZK technology that we're building. Although we have one of the best solutions in the market today, we're still innovating and building the next thing that we believe it's gonna basically keep improving this industry. And in terms of the vibes, people are also looking for that belief. Like, this is, I don't want to say a cult, but there's culture that it's building. It's almost like religion at some extent, right? Like, people believe in something deeply. Sure, that's how they follow you. And Web3 is similar. Or they not follow you, they follow the religion or whatever they believe in. And in Web3, you need to, at least that part needs to be consistent. You need to have that vision, that mission as a project that is like, this is where we're aiming. This is our end goal. Polygon wants to really give this access of value. Like, at the end, like, if you look at it, the internet gives you access to information. Blockchains gives you, within the internet, they give you access also to the value. You can own things. You can, like, it's like, if we're talking about like digital assets, for example, you actually own it. You just thought it's not just a picture on Facebook. It's your picture. You own it. It's on your wallet. You have so the idea of Polygon is to really enable that to everyone and give people that, allowing that access. And for that, you need to have scalability. Blockchains need to scale, and it has to be a really good experience. That's how we bring our technology as which is the blockchains, and we'll bring AggLayer to enable both scalability and a unified experience. So it's good. And if we have that, and that's why I started, when I talked about the AggLayer, I started about the story, right? Like, you have monolithic to modular and now aggregated blockchains. This is kind of what's leading us today. And we want as many people to believe in that idea and that story. And if they believe in that, they will follow us, right? They will become eventually community members, and they will bring those vibes that we want them to bring. Now, for the vibes, that's one. They need that belief. On the other hand, you also have the Web3 culture, that it's very degen, that it's very fun, funny. And Polygon in the past was seen as like the enterprise chain.
Was that a deliberate choice?
It was a choice. It was strategy.
Yeah.
We partnered with the biggest brands in the world.
I remember.
With the goal to bring them on chain.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And it worked well for a while. But market change, sentiment change for blockchains in general in crypto. And FTX, Luna, things crashed. And those companies didn't want to take that risk anymore. And they decided to either stop their solutions on the blockchains or stop investing in that part. And so that's where we had a shift. And we needed to go back to the Web3 core audience, which is way more digital. That, I don't know if people have seen the last 9 to 1 year that we have changed our marketing completely, and we're way more funny. We do memes. We do crazy things sometimes that are like...
Memes didn't exist in Polygon's marketing strategy like 2 years ago?
They existed, but it was
different.
It's completely different.
Okay.
Now we're going very, very digital in our marketing. And it's not just because it's a strategy, but it's because those are the people we want. If you want to bring that culture and have those vibes. So yes, one thing is believe what the mission of the company is, but also people want to feel connected to. And those are people. We want to treat them as people, not as just like users. This is something completely different from Web2, where you look at numbers like, oh, those are my users. In Web3, you need to treat those users as people and create relationships with them. One of the main goals for the marketing department in the next few months is basically enhance that community of advocates of Polygon. And to do that, you need to build relationships with them. And we brought like our best, like we actually hired a team of community members. They were community members, and now they're all on Discord and Reddit and Telegram. And we have Smokey, which a lot of people know on Twitter. He's leading that like kind of little department, that little team that we have. And we really want to enhance that community and bring vibes and more people to support Polygon and do things together with them.
So, I think in quote unquote traditional marketing, and you actually mentioned this, right? The classic approach and typically best practice is to communicate a hyper-focused message to a hyper-focused crowd, right? Yeah. I feel like in Web3, especially, it depends on who in Web3 where you are, but especially as an ecosystem or a protocol, you can't afford to do that because you have so many personas or stakeholders, right, in your audience, whether again, it's the, sorry for the label, but like the degen NFT communities and the DeFi, whales and the enterprise partners and the retail speculators. And you have kind of all these different people who want to be a part of what it is that you're building for different reasons, right?
Yep.
How do you navigate that as a protocol? How do you, on one side, stay sharp and hyper-focused, and on the other side, right, kind of diverse enough? So how do you find that?
It's super challenging. It's very, very like if I said that before, and you also said that, like focusing on one message and one thing, and like, I don't know, sometimes I miss like just being a marketing person for a shoes company.
Right.
The most comfortable shoes, super easy, right? Like, and that you could
put or chocolate.
Yeah.
Like ours has sprinkles,
exactly, whatever. So you need to, that's why it's so important also to be on top of what's going on in the market. Not that you need to be changing all the time, but there is a little bit like, we don't know which application or which category, or which vertical, if you talk about NFTs or DeFi, what's going to be the thing that will bring those billions of users, and what's going to be like that use case that will, people will end up like, can you choose one? No. It's hard. You can know which, like, maybe.
I mean, I'd argue some chains, like Immutable, right, lean into gaming. They say, look, this is our niche, this is our thing, and we're going all in, essentially, right? That gaming is going to be a prevalent use case within Web3.
Yes.
But
Well,
but that's not necessarily the
but
right thing for every chain to do, especially not, one of the largest chains
right.
around.
And that's why for us, it's really hard to focus on one thing.
Right.
Having said that, we're building some DeFi focus for our protocols, which is what we're now not relaunching, but we're gonna improve Polygon ZK, which is our ZK chain. It's gonna be much better in a few months, and it's gonna be very focused on DeFi.
Okay.
That's one of the main focus. But but at the same time, you still have Polygon POS, which is a different chain.
Right.
That it's focused on. It's a more general purpose chain and has gaming and NFTs and RWAs. For the marketing team, it means that you need to be able to segment. Something that we did in the past. I'm not saying it's all a question of resources sometimes. If I had all the resources in the world, I probably will have Twitter channels for each vertical.
Sure.
Polygon gaming, but chains do this, by the way. Polygon gaming, Polygon DeFi, Polygon NFTs, whatever. And then that's whoever is interested in NFTs will follow the Polygon NFT channel, and whoever is interested in DeFi will follow the DeFi channel. But that's more a question of resources and if you're capable to maintain all these channels and do that segmentation. By the way, there are also in Web2, even when it's super hyper focused, like big Web2 tech companies have multiple products, and some of them are for developers. I'll give an example: work management tools like that have also CRMs and have platforms for manage your day-to-day tasks. They have things that are developer focused. They have things that are marketing people. HubSpot, for example,
right?
They have different. Put a lot of resources for each one of those segments.
Right.
We have chosen DeFi probably as DeFi and gaming as our primary verticals that we focus on, but it doesn't mean that we stop talking about the other ones or stop doing marketing for AWS or NFTs, but maybe it's like lower in priority. But when we see something that it's like or Deepin, for example, I also didn't mention Deepin. It's also priority.
Sure.
When we see that the market is going towards, the narrative is going towards DeFi right now, for example, or Deepin, we put a higher emphasis on those verticals. So we have a growth marketing team and there are three or four people. We're hiring someone now who they're experts in each vertical. We have for gaming, for DeFi, for Deepin, and they know what's going on in the market. And based on that, we make decisions. We should now push Deepin really hard for the next few months because this vertical is like, it's important. We're gonna be able to raise awareness around Polygon and Deepin. By the way, this is another strategy that we're coming up with right now. Our BD team, which is probably one of the best BD teams in the industry, they also have a very clear focus of which projects they want on Polygon. Like they speak with builders, they know what's going on in the industry. They go to events, they talk with a lot of people, and a lot of times we make those decisions based on what they tell us. They're like, hey guys, this month we're targeting this amount of gaming projects or these specific projects. We really want them at Polygon. We want to support them. We want them to basically build together, succeed together. And sometimes we focus on marketing based on that. Like if they're telling us we want to focus on gaming this next quarter, we might put more emphasis on gaming.
Sure. So there's a feedback loop, which is obviously a very important thing, I think, in any organization to have. And you're saying, essentially marketing sort of serves, right? These departments within the organization to make it easier for them to have the assets that they need, right? The marketing collateral, as well as the leads and just the pipeline and the awareness around a certain topic.
Yeah. So, and something about Polygon is that we have a lot of projects who are we have a very big top funnel of projects and leads that want to build on Polygon.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. So you're saying no more than you're saying yes, if I'm understanding correctly, right?
Well, everyone can permissionlessly build Polygon.
But when people are asking or projects are asking you for things,
it's really hard. It's impossible. We tried that. and we disappointed so many people in the past, and so many projects. Polygon went from, I would say 60 employees to 500 employees in 2021, 2022,
Almost 10x.
with the goal to support this huge ecosystem that it's building. We wanted to support every single project that comes to Polygon, every single builder that can get a grant, that can get technical support, that we can do co-marketing with them. And besides the fact that FTX happened and things were unclear and uncertainty, and that made a lot of we had a reorg in the organization, it was impossible, and many got disappointed from Polygon back in the day. So now we're at a place that we don't want to overpromise things.
Sure.
And we're lucky enough that we can still work with the best projects and the best builders. But sometimes it's just it's impossible to support all of them. And for marketing, what it means is that the BD team has its goals, and they know which builders they want. So we get that information from them, and we do marketing based on that information. We focus our marketing based on that many times. The vertical marketing, there's obviously the more product marketing, narrative marketing, which is what we talk about AggLayer and our story and more brand awareness. But if we're focusing on bringing gaming dApps or DeFi dApps or whatever vertical, that's information that we ideally get from the BD team. And that's how we focus our efforts.
All right. So to sum it up, I mean, just this topic, it's very, very complex marketing to all these different stakeholders. You typically, you kind of start with the strategic basics. For you, that might mean AggLayer. It might mean kind of, broader branding and marketing for Polygon. But then you're saying, and if you have the resources, focus on the different verticals and the different stakeholders within those verticals, essentially with different campaigns, right?
Yes. By the way, we don't have specific channels besides DeFi.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have, and we decided to consolidate, and we're like, okay, this is
right,
too broad. It was not working well. Some teams still do it. So yeah, as much as focus as you can in your general story and your brand and your and the vibes. Like this, I connect the vibes to brand, brand awareness, or and that story that you tell. So it's basically, yes, being fun and DJing because that's like the people we want to talk to, but also we have our story, which is the reason to believe in Polygon and our mission. That's more the brand work. And then you have the campaign specific work, which is targeting those builders as well and users. And that's strategically, we get that information from other departments depending on their goals and their focus. And then we're able to focus even without having all those 10 different Twitter channels with different segments. This is right now how we're operating. If we were a 50 people marketing team, maybe I will segment it even more. But
how many 50 people marketing teams are there in Web3? Like zero. Probably, right? Not even Coinbase or...
Yeah, I don't. Now that I'm aware, sometimes I'm surprised to hear that like projects that you think they have a huge marketing team, there are 3 people.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is typically, for sure. So we talk a little bit about the verticals. I feel like in our industry there are also so many channels, prevalent channels, whether it's Discord and Telegram for on the community side, and or whether it's crypto Twitter, or whether it's YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff. So like when you kind of think of, you can't focus on only one channel, but what is your favorite channel nevertheless?
Well, Twitter. For sure.
Why?
That's where people spend their time in this industry. Like there are some other channels, obviously, like Discord, Reddit, Farcasters, coming and going. I don't know.
But what do you think of Farcaster? Quick detour to Farcaster. What's your take?
Farcaster, I don't spend enough time there, to be honest. I used
Likewise.
Yeah, okay.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I don't spend, it's just hard for me to be in 5. It's like if I have every day I try to spend, I don't know, at least an hour on a social channels to understand what people are talking about and tweet something and be as a head of marketing, I need to be aware of what's the narrative
for sure
people are talking about.
It's super important.
Be out there, exactly. It's like like honestly, this is so much easier than in Web2 to like talk to customers, if you want to call it that way. Like you need to actually set up interviews or you need to go to events. Like here, I can literally see what's happening in Togon 2049
Right.
from Israel just by looking at Twitter. I
Right.
know what they're talking about.
Yeah, or you could just ask Twitter a question and you'll get 100 answers. Or you could run a poll, or you can do all these things.
Yeah, so this is my way to communicate with their audience, with the people in the industry. And I need to be there at least an hour a day, and it's hard to be Twitter and Farcaster and Reddit and Discord and all these places. So Farcaster, I also have seen, because there's all this rush to this race to get tokens and airdrops, I've seen a lot of bots. Obviously, Twitter also has bots, but this is different. People are just casting. They're tweeting, not tweeting. They're casting things a lot just to potentially get an airdrop from someone, because that's kind of it. At some point that happened. But at the same time, I know there are a lot of good people and devs using it. And we are looking into, by the way, the strategy from Farcaster, if we're talking to marketeers, should be completely different than the Polygon one. I don't think Farcaster is a place for brands the same way that Twitter is. It's more for personalities. And if you want to target a dev audience on Farcaster, which is a good place to do it, you should try to have some people from your project. Either the best will be a founder, but even if it's a product manager or a dev role person that is talks about more technical topics, Farcaster is a great place. I don't think it's as much for the Polygon brand. People don't like it. If we're talking about vibes, they see Polygon tweeting on Farcaster. It's not saying that you don't have to you can do it, but it's not going to be the best place to do it.
Interesting. Just you're saying there's some misalignment there in the brand, the actual brand.
There is. I look at it this way. Well, Farcaster, I've seen two things. I've seen a lot of devs, and I've seen also the bots that are trying to do it all the time.
Right.
And a good thing for them is that they have all these channels, so you can just follow the casts on specific channels and the people you like, and you create your sort of your own groups. But those people are developers who don't like marketing.
And that's the point. Okay.
And you going with Polygon brand and
right.
And as a Polygon identity, speaking selling Polygon, people won't like it.
Gotcha.
Because they're like, you want to do that? Go to Twitter,
right?
Or go
right. So maybe educational material, links, code. I guess more kind of let's build type content. You're saying that sits well on Farcaster.
Yeah,
but going there and saying, hey, buy my sign up here or whatever, right?
Let's say Polygon has or not, but whatever. Polygon has a collaboration with this project. Not for fun.
Not interested. Okay.
But if Polygon is building a new tag for something, a ZK tag or whatever, that could be, and you're not trying to sell, you're more, not as an announcement, but educational content, more dev-focused content. That's good for Farcaster.
Okay.
And better if it comes from your dev role person, not from your, not from your brand.
Got it. Okay. So back to Twitter, your favorite crypto channel. Everyone's there. Keep going.
Everyone's there. We also have a huge following there, so it's organic. No need. It's we were able to penetrate the market with AggLayer, for example, in just a few months without spending $1 on Twitter ads, for example. Or if we compare it to if we're talking to marketers, we're thinking if we come from Web2 also, it's everything is organic. We have luckily a lot of followers on Twitter. We're big projects, so we can just push our narratives and our messages and our campaigns on Twitter organically without the need to pay.
If you were a much smaller protocol, would you expect your strategy to be different on that front? Would you maybe expect to pay and pour fuel on the fire to get more of that reach?
So I will probably pay for individuals, for influencers, basically for KOLs.
Okay.
More if I had depends on your budget and things like that. But
so an extension of you, proxies.
Yes, but I would not as a protocol.
As a protocol, sure.
If it was an app who's targeting end users, that it has as we talked about at the beginning, it was like you have that bottom line of a CTA. You can go on, it's like a checkout page, let's say. Okay, let's call it like checkout, or like a mint, or like deposit or stake, or whatever you want to, whatever your protocol or your app is. I will explore paying ads. Not explore, I will definitely do paid ads. But as a protocol who is looking to have devs, I would not do it. I wouldn't have KOLs that can speak about Polygon, that it seems less like everyone knows that people pay for them, but it seems less than actually a sponsor.
Right. It feels more organic. It's something that more people can relate to.
Yeah.
It expands your quote unquote like captured audience. You say you have millions of people essentially that get your notifications every day.
Yeah.
But it'll solve that problem for you.
Yes, it solves that problem because of the optics.
Right.
I'm not a person who's against advertising. I think all the world operates that way, and all the industries, and it's a way to. There's no problem with it.
Right.
I know that there's like some negative. People look at it as a negative thing sometimes in Web3, or at least devs look at it as a negative thing. But a builder needs to be able to spread the word that that's what they're doing, and that's the infrastructure that we have today to do that. You need to pay for it, and yes, they will see an ad of whatever you're selling them, as long as it's a good product.
Right. And as long as you're coming with the right offer at the right time to the right person, there's value there.
Yeah, exactly. There's value, and otherwise you would not hear about this amazing solution that this builder and founder is doing. But the optics and Web3 sometimes the standard is different.
Yeah,
and the expectation is different. And also, I don't think I'll have necessarily the right ROI if I start spending money in ads, because we don't have that, as I call it, that checkout page, right? At the end, Polygon is focusing to bring builders mainly, and there's not a clear funnel. There's a funnel, but there's not like you go from Twitter to our website, you connect your wallet, you buy.
Right.
No, it's like you go from Twitter to our website, maybe, then to the tech docs, or even you skip the website. If you're a developer, you might just search on Google Polygon docs. And if you're interested in start building, let's say on Polygon POS, you will look at the tech, and it will take you 2-3 months. You will deploy a smart contract, and that's the final. But for me, it's really hard to track that. So I don't know if that ad that I did on Twitter to target that dev will eventually bring the investment return.
Addressable could solve that for you, but we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. So that's why, but also it's both, right? Like it's the optics that they will not like that. By the way, everyone was celebrating when Solana stopped doing ads. I don't know if you saw that.
When they stopped doing ads? Oh,
yeah.
No, I didn't.
Solana used to do ads, and they announced that they're stopping.
Okay.
And
that was their best ad.
And the community celebrated it. It's like, that's the optics. But this is for protocol, for infrastructure.
Right. And specifically very large ones, by the way, who don't have a brand recognition a problem, right?
Exactly.
Or anything like that.
For us, it's just we don't need. Otherwise, I will definitely try it.
Okay.
I'm not, as I said, I'm not against, and I think it's the way to do marketing. There's no easiest way to do marketing.
Yeah. It's like a faucet, right? That you can turn on, you can turn off, and you can create that feedback loop. All right. We're almost out of time, Leon. So I want to ask you one last question. And we can wrap up with that. What are some of the skills that you look for when you, Leon, head of marketing at Polygon, hire people? Or in other words, what are some of the skills and or experience points that marketers who are looking at under Web3 must have?
Okay, so if I'm looking, let's say it's like either social or growth marketing or product marketing, those are people who, I would not call them skills, but they need to know what's going on. I want people who understand Web3, understand the culture. If they're just coming from Web2 and they have not spent the last year on Twitter and have been aware of what's going on, it's going to be really hard for them to do the transition.
To catch up.
They're not going to get it. Like even we're talking about buys. They're going to come to a team meeting. We're going to talk about the way we do marketing is different. So I definitely need people who are into Web3. As a main, that's like the main thing for marketing. On top of that, I would love Web2 skills, right? Like if you know how to run campaigns and project management, that's like, I think because of the how this industry started and the people who got into it were not necessarily professionals from the get-go, and they built themselves within the industry. Like the standards are lower than Web2 in terms of project management and being professionals and having experience. I think it's a way younger industry. So I will look into their project management skills. That's super important, so we can actually operate and like build good things together. We said as one of I said beginning, narratives and messaging is super important. So if this is a growth marketing manager, I will look into those skills, being able to tell a good story. I think that's super, super important. Web3. If you're a marketer and cannot shape a narrative, shape a story, and have some good messaging, you can learn it. But like, if I'm looking for a more senior person that I want them to lead something, I will look for that. I would say those are 2 or 3 most important things I'll look into it.
Fantastic. Leon, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the insights. Until next time, man.
Thank you. Thanks so much.